Another way to deform a mesh is through morphing. This is mostly used for facial animation, but it can be used for a lot of other different things. Let me go ahead and open a file and I'll show you exactly how morphing works. We're going to open this file here. It's a very simple file. It's called cylinder morph. Really, it's just 4 cylinders. We're going to look how morph works on these, and then we're going to go ahead and apply it to our fish. I'm going to go ahead and select this far right cylinder. And if you notice, these other 3 cylinders are exactly the same. At least the geometry is the same. It's just the only difference really is the shape. They have the exact same number of vertices. How I created these is I took the original cylinder and just copied it or cloned it and then modeled in some changes. What we can do though is let's go ahead over to modifiers and let's bring up Morpher. What Morpher allows us to do is to actually morph one shape into another. Pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this. I'm going to bring up the morph modifier. And under channel list, these are all the different places we can put morphs. So I'm going to go ahead and go pick from scene. And I'm just going to pick the first cylinder. Now notice how that fills that slot. And now if I manipulate this, notice how that cylinder now can assume the shape of that other object. I'll do the same for this one. And right click again, do the same for that one. Now, what I want to show you is that we can actually mix these. So I can, for example, create that shape, and if I go down to cylinder 4, which just has the top spread out, I can do that as well. So really what you can do is you can create combinations of shapes, which can has all sorts of different possibilities. So that's basically how Morpher works. You can see it's fairly straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and reset, and yes. Now we're going to go over and open our fish file. We have a file out there called fish Morpher. And as you can see, this is very similar to that cylinder file. We have created a fish model, and I've duplicated that model and created one for basically open puckered mouth and completely closed mouth. Now it's just a matter of applying that modifier to the stack and adding in our morph targets. How do we do that? Well, very simple. We select the mesh of our fish. Now here's the trick. We want to morph it before the bones take effect. This is where we have an order of operations issue here. So I've got my original fish, my editable poly, got my unwrap UVW, which applies the texture. And so in between that and the final skin, that's where I really want to put the morpher. So go over to modifiers, animation morpher, and if I have unwrap UVW selected, it should come up in between. Otherwise, I can just click and drag and move it where I want. Right click, pick from scene. Right click, pick from scene. Now let's see if our fish can talk. There he goes. Very simple. And now the last thing we want to do is, obviously this fish is low-res polygon. Actually, the second to the last thing we want to do is go ahead, select these fish, and just go hide selection. And the last thing I want to do is I want to put on a subdivision surface. I'm going to put on a mesh smooth modifier at the very top, do one iteration for the animation window, and then when I render it, I want to render it at maybe 2. So there we've got a complete fish. So if I select those bones and rotate them, I can do that. Now I can select my morpher. You see my mouth works just fine too. So now we have a fully rigged fish. Let's go ahead and animate this little guy in the next movie.